It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's a Monday, but you didn't need to know that. What you do need to know, it's Manic Monday here on ZiFM Sport, meaning that we're reviewing the weekend that was. On the home front, Norman Mapeza announced his return to the FC Platinum dugout with a bang as he engineered a 2-1 victory over Costa Do Sol in a CAF Champions League preliminary round first leg encounter at Zimpeto Stadium in Mozambique on Saturday. That headlines our dive into the weekend, and those diving into the weekend are, of course, Mike Madorda, our producer Sean Tafirenyika. My name is Barry Manandi. But that's not the only thing that you can look forward to, because we got international sports news where Steve Smith scored a second straight 62-ball century with his 11th one-day international ton, propelling Australia to a series win over India with a game to spare.
We'll have plenty of international sports news for you when we take you around the world in 60, beginning in Australia, where the All Blacks thrashed Argentina 38-0 in a Tri-Nations test in Newcastle to gain a measure of revenge for their stunning loss to the Pumas 2 weeks ago and snap a 2-match losing streak. In the United States, Patrick Mahomes threw 3 touchdown passes as the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, beat 6-time winner Tom Brady and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27-24 in a thrilling NFL matchup earlier this morning. And in Bahrain, out in the Middle East, Roman Grosjean is being treated for burns to his hands after miraculously walking away from a huge first lap crash at the Bahrain Grand Prix that saw his Haas car split into 2 and burst into flames. Barry, you've got to say that everyone, I think, who was watching Formula One yesterday afternoon heaved a collective sigh of relief when they saw him jump out.
We certainly did, and as we looked at the flames, everybody feared the worst, and for him to emerge out of the flames, I think everyone was grateful that he was okay, first and foremost, and secondly, also appreciate now the interventions that have been made by Formula One on the safety side and the safety protocols that have been implemented, and saying that the sport is certainly safer, because a few years back, that crash would have had very different circumstances.
Absolutely, Barry. He certainly dodged a bullet, and that's a bullet that claimed the likes of Riccardo Paletti, Elio De Angelis, as well as famously Ayrton Senna. Don't forget, we'll have a full Formula One report for you on tomorrow's edition of ZiFM Sports.
Somebody out there is obviously asking, but where's the football? Don't worry, second half of the show, we'll dive into the Castle Lager World Football Report. A sensational late Mohamed Afsha Magdi goal gave Al Ahly victory over Cairo rivals Zamalek in the first ever one-legged African Champions League final. In the Premier League, football pundit Roy Keane has questioned Tottenham's title credentials despite Jose Mourinho's side reclaiming top spot in the league with a laboured goalless draw at Chelsea. In La Liga, Zinedine Zidane said he is concerned by Real Madrid's lack of consistency following their shock defeat to Deportivo Alaves, and will also have outtakes from Serie A, the Bundesliga, and the DStv Premiership. All makes for an exciting edition of ZiFM Sport. But first, our power play. Here's a banger from Miley Cyrus off her latest album. It's called Plastic Hearts.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
You got to say to yourself, in the last decade, probably the thing that has changed our lives the most is social media, because we are able to interact without ever seeing each other in person and possibly never actually meeting. However, we can meet in cyberspace, and we intend to do that on our main handle, which is at ZiFM Sport. But you can also get a hold of us in our individual capacities at Mike Madoda, at Barry Manandi, at Sean Tafirenika, at Chris Meadsy, at Gazaman14, and of course at Mark Apozzo. All of those are available to you, and we can have a chat as to what's happening in the world of sport across all the platforms on social media. Now, let's dive into it and get after it. On the home front is where we always start, and today is no different. Norman Mapeza announced his return to the SC Platinum dugout with a bang as he engineered a 2-1 victory over Costa Do Sol in the CAF Champions League preliminary round first leg encounter at Zimpeto Stadium in Mozambique on Saturday. The Zhishane-based side needed a stoppage time goal from Tanzanian forward Elias Maguri to claim the win after Costa do Sol had equalized. Ralph Kondela had given Pure Platinum Play the lead in the 71st minute after a goalless first half. Mikey, Norman Mapeza, he's not one of those who likes drama, but my God, does he know how to serve it up.
Yeah, Barry, and it was a good win for FC Platinum. On Friday, we talked about the fact that Costa do Sol would not be easy opponents for FC Platinum, especially at the Zimpeto Stadium out in Maputo. FC Platinum taking the lead with about 20 minutes to go, and then they would have been disappointed, Barry. They would have been crushed that they conceded in the first minute of added time, but they showed resolve and character to score just 60 seconds later that winner through the unheralded Tanzanian Elias Maguri. And so it's a win that Norman Mapeza will take, and it's a win that will stand him in good stead to progress to the next round when they play Costa do Sol at the National Sports Stadium on Friday afternoon.
What did you make of the front three? We're seeing the first time that they've certainly come together, where you've got Perfect Chikwende, Silas Songani, and the Congolese importer Elian Ilungu. They're playing together, and listen, he's got a riches of attacking talent. But this is the first time that we're seeing these three come together, and a goalless first half might have made Norman a little concerned as to the future of these three in attack.
Yeah, Barry, it was a slow start by those three. They didn't exactly light it up. But when you have the likes of Ralph Kawondera playing behind them, the likes of Brian Banda, who was making his debut in the CAF Champions League, it means that you've got goals and creativity behind you. And Ralph Kawondera managing to chip in with a goal. It was a headed goal, so FC Platinum getting a set-piece goal. That's something that will please Norman Mapeza, that they are able to score in different ways. So for me, it's a good start, Barry. In the CAF Champions League, at this stage, coming off the back of going 10 months without football, I think it's a performance that Norman Mapeza will take. He'll be quietly confident that his side can finish off the business.
And look, you make a fine point in talking about the fact that it's off a long layoff. Norman Mapeza himself may not have expected much, like you said earlier, to have only had a few days, literally 3 days, to prepare the side before traveling, and then having a day or so to sort things out in Mozambique, and still getting a positive result, to quote his words, which he loves to use. And you got to think to yourself, he's thinking possibly already about the next round. However, not to get ahead of ourselves, they've got a second leg.
Yeah, they've got a second leg where they need to finish off the job, Barry, and they'll need to do it because Costa do Sol were not outplayed in this encounter. They were competitive throughout, and so Costa do Sol themselves will be disappointed that they lost at home, but they'll be thinking, you know what, if we score first, if we score early in Harare, we'll be back in the tie. And so Norman Mapeza will certainly be impressing upon his charges, the need to concentrate, the need for them to remain focused because the job is not done. And let's not forget that Norman Mapeza himself is still feeling his way around FC Platinum. It might surprise some because he won 2 titles there and spent a few seasons at FC Platinum. But if you take a look at the team, Barry, that ran on at the Zimpeto Stadium, there were a few new faces, players that Norman Mapeza has only worked with for 7 days. Silas Songani is one of them. Brian Banda is another one. Elian Ilungu is another one. Those guys, of course, are new to Norman Mapeza. And then if you also consider consider the ones that were playing in different positions. Gift Mbreti playing as a right back for FC Platinum. That's not the position that he was playing under Norman Mapeza, but he's being used in that position. So Norman Mapeza still feeling his way, still trying to get the combination and the balance right at FC Platinum. We hope he can get the job done.
We certainly do. We hope that he can get the job done, and that second leg will take place at the National Sports Stadium this weekend. No doubt FC Platinum already in preps for that. We understand that they will be preparing in Harare so that they're able to, in quotation marks, acclimatize to where they'll be playing.
Where they're going to be preparing, Barry? I mean, has that been announced yet?
It has been announced. Apparently, they will be preparing at the Eagles' Nest at Ellis Robbins, the home of Golden Eagles.
Right. All right, yeah.
I see what you did there, Mike.
Good turf, that one.
Good turf. It'll give them a feel of what they might meet at the National Sports Stadium, or even better.
If not better. I was going to say if not better, because it's possibly the best playing surface in the capital right now. The Golden Eagles home ground, the Eagles' Nest at Ellis Robbins, and of course FC Platinum play on Friday afternoon at the National Sports Stadium versus the Mozambican champions Costa Do Sol.
And another team that was preparing at the Eagles' Nest at Ellis Robbins was, of course, the Zimbabwe under-20 team. Now, they have been given the green light to travel to South Africa for the CAF Championships, a move that left coach Tunderai Ndiraya hugely relieved. Man, Ndiraya said the announcement by the Sport and Recreation Commission that his team had been barred from leaving for the tournament following some protocol transgressions by ZIFA had a psychological effect on his charges, and that was very tragic. Now, hopefully they can all click their minds back into gear and get ready for that COSAFA tournament. He's certainly got a decent side that he's traveling with, Mike, and we hope that he can get the mentality of the team right, and who knows, we might be able to get a few good results and possibly even find ourselves in the semi-finals.
Yeah, I think the good thing, Barry, is that this impasse between SRC and ZIFA has been resolved, at least as far as the under-20 team is concerned. It means that these youngsters who had been preparing at the Eagles' Nest to go and compete out in Port Elizabeth are able to do so. They're able to showcase their talent. There'll be a few scouts loitering around at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for these youngsters. And Tunderai Ndiraya will go with them. We are in a tough group, Barry. Opening match, we're up against Amajita, the South African under-20 team. But hopefully with the sort of preparation that they've had, and if they show a bit of resolve, a bit of fight, we may be competitive in that game and hopefully steal something.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Right, let's give you the rest of your local sports news roundup, starting with cricket, where Zimbabwe Cricket ZC will use the bio-bubble concept for the country's premier first-class cricket competition, which gets underway in Harare on Thursday to curtail the spread of the coronavirus. ZC Director of Cricket, Hamilton Masakadza, said that they were still deciding on how to limit players interacting with outsiders during the Logan Cup matches to be played between the 3rd and 20th of December. In rugby news, several former and current international rugby stars who trace their roots to Zimbabwe have thrown their weight behind the Sables' bid to qualify for the 2023 World Cup to be held in France after taking up roles as ambassadors for the team ahead of the qualifiers starting next year. In an effort to galvanize support for the country's flagship rugby team, the Zimbabwe Rugby Union has lined up several fundraising initiatives to boost resources for the Sables ahead of a crucial season next year. The initiatives include the appointment of Zimbabwe-born former Australia captain David Pocock, Harare-born England and Exeter Chiefs flanker Don Amand, ex-Springboks Tunderai Shavanga and Adrian Garvey as Sables ambassadors. And we wrap it up with table tennis news, where the Zimbabwe Table Tennis Union, the ZTTU, has begun preparations to ensure that the country qualifies for the 2023 World Table Tennis Championships, which are set to be staged for the first time in South Africa. Table tennis activity has resumed in the country following a lengthy COVID-19 induced break that affected a lot of the union's key plans for the year. And after South Africa earned the right to host the next World Championships in September, the ZTTU is already looking to make the most of it.
Hi, this is Mike Madura, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Don't forget the Castle Lager World Football Report, which comes up in the second half of the show. Big matches in Europe, but there was none bigger than the London derby between Chelsea and Tottenham. It ended with honours all even. Jose Mourinho and Frank Lampard, the master and the student, could not be separated, and there's very little to separate them at the top of the standings in the English Premier League. That's one of our lead stories when we come back after our play of the day. But before we get there, we'll give you some international sports news of a cricket variety, where Steve Smith scored a second straight 62-ball century with his 11th one-day international ton, preparing Australia to a series win over India with a game to spare. Smith followed his total of 105 in Sydney on Friday with a knock of 104 from 64 balls at the same venue as the hosts piled on an imposing 389 for 4 to set up their 51-run success. Let's take a look at the scorecard in the second one-day international between Australia and India. The hosts 389 for 4, Smith 104, Warner 83, Labus Kakhni 70, Glenn Maxwell, the big show, putting on a show, 63 not out, and the skipper Aaron Finch with 60. India in reply could only muster 338 for the loss of 9 wickets. Their captain Virat Kohli, a well-played 89, but it wasn't enough. Rahul, 76. And then the pick of the Australian bowlers was Pat Cummins, who snared 3 for 67. Australia winning by 51 runs. Let's hear from man of the match and arguably man of the moment, Steve Smith, after leading Australia to victory.
Well, I didn't give any chances today, I don't think. I didn't know I was playing today, actually. I had a really bad dose of vertigo this morning, and I was struggling till about... I came down early to have a hit and a bit of a run around. I got the doctor, I think he performed 6 Epley's manoeuvres on me this morning and got the crystals out of my ears, and I was struggling for a bit. So just pleased to be able to get out here and play another good innings and help the team. Yeah, another really good performance. We almost played the perfect game of cricket. I thought the way Davey and Finchy started again, laid a really good foundation, enabled myself and Maxie to come in and play our shots and get us to another big total. And then I thought the bowlers bowled really well tonight. I think we started a little bit better than we did the other night. They played some nice shots, but we always knew the rate was going up pretty quick with a few good overs, and taking some wickets was nice throughout the middle, and really good performance.
Z.
Barry, Australia will be very, very satisfied with the way they've gone about their business in the first 2 one-day internationals. They won the first one-day international on Friday by 66 runs, and they repeated the feat by 51 runs, meaning that they grab the 10 points on offer in both matches, 20 points that will go a long way in assuring them a place at the next World Cup in India.
Yeah, you say that like it was in question. I think they were nailed on from the start. But I hear you. It means, look, these series now have meaning because they contribute obviously to your points haul and your qualification for the World Cup. And Australia are doing so in imperious fashion. Look, when we look at the results at the end, a second one-day international, Australia wins by 51 runs. First one-day international, Australia wins by 66 runs. You'd think to yourself, they were very, very competitive. But if you look at the work being done with the Willow by Australia in that second one-day international, those are eye-watering figures that you ran through, Michael. Smith, 104, Warner, 83, Lavasrachni, 70, unbeaten 63 for Glenn Maxwell, the big show, Finch with 60. Those are numbers that any batsman in the world will be proud of and probably be PB numbers, personal best numbers. But the Australians are just rattling off these numbers at will. points to two things. Number one, the Indians are failing to break through with the ball. And then secondly, the Australians, and chief among them, Steve Smith, are in fine touch.
Yeah, they're in fine touch, Barry. And on Friday, when we previewed this series, we talked about the team that would get off to the best start with the bat in terms of their top order batsmen laying the foundation for big totals. Will probably be the team that will go on and win. And in both matches, Australia has managed to do just that with, 150 run opening partnerships between Aaron Finch and David Warner in both matches, and that is the foundation that Australia has needed. So they haven't needed to really get off to a fast or blistering scoring start, but what they've done is that they've kept wickets in hand, which has enabled them to launch a middle over onslaught onto the Indian bowling with the likes of Steve Smith coming in and scoring at a rate that's probably, a lot of people would not say that's not Steve Smith-like, but he's been given the foundation to play with a lot of liberty and a lot of freedom. And Glenn Maxwell has also come in at the tail end where he does what he knows to do best, which is to finish off matches, which is to take the ball over the boundary and give Australia imposing totals. So the foundation has been laid, Barry, by the opening partnerships. India, on the other hand, have lost wickets at the top of the order.
They have. They've lost wickets at the top of the order, meaning that they're always under pressure. Also, I think the pressure has come from a perspective that the big totals that have been set by Australia already puts them under pressure. So when you lose those early wickets at the top of your order, your middle order batsmen are always going to be under pressure to try and keep the scoreboard ticking. But now, more so, because now you're behind the run rate, you're behind the 8 ball. So India's pressure is doubled up, and in truth, they haven't adjusted to the conditions to the extent and at the level that we would have all hoped to get more competition in this series. The hope is that as we go on, possibly on Wednesday in the final one, which is now a dead rubber because, the series is sealed 2-0 to Australia.
But Barry, you say there are no more dead rubbers with qualification for the World Cup. So it means that Australia will still want those 10 points. And here's the thing about India. India are going to be playing the role of spoiler over the next 24 months, Barry, because they're the hosts of the World Cup. So whilst they participate in these series, theirs really is a role where they can take points off you, and yet they actually don't need those points to qualify for the World Cup. So Australia are the ones that really have it all to play for. India can still lose this game, and it will mean nothing in the big picture, because they're going to be at the World Cup as hosts. But for Australia, they're going to want to win this one. But the problem is, David Warner, will he play? Will he not play? He went for scans for that injury, that groin injury. And so he'll be a big miss at the top of the order for Australia if he's not going to be available. And they may have to rejig their batting order. Like Barry said, the third and final one-day international is on Wednesday. And then they begin the T20 series, which will start on Thursday in Canberra, the first T20 international. On Sunday, they will be in Sydney, and they'll wrap it up with the third T20 international at the Sydney Cricket Ground on Tuesday. And then, of course, we got other tours, other cricket has been played. We complained about there not being any action whatsoever, and now there is more than enough. England batsman David Malan fired a half-century as England eased to a 4-wicket win over the Proteas in the second T20 series, the series at Boland Park. The result gives England an unassailable 2-0 series lead ahead of tomorrow's final T20 at Newlands. And in New Zealand, West Indies captain Kieron Pollard accused his side of not performing to international standards after New Zealand comprehensively won the second T20 international by 72 runs on the back of a record century by Glenn Phillips. New Zealand, of course, wrapping up that series, and the third T20 international, which was meant to be played today, was washed out, meaning that New Zealand win the series 2-0.
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
All right, let's take you around the world in 60. And rugby news is first starting in Australia, where New Zealand thrashed Argentina 38-0 in a Tri-Nations test in Newcastle to gain a measure of revenge for their stunning loss to the Pumas 2 weeks ago and snap a two-match losing streak. In Europe, England booked their place in the Nations Cup final with a 24-13 win against a highly competitive Wales at Parky Scarlets in Llanelli. And in the Currie Cup, there were wins for the Sharks and the Bulls, while the match between the Griquas and the Lions was abandoned after lightning stopped play. Over to the United States, Patrick Mahomes threw 3 touchdown passes as the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, beat 6-time winner Tom Brady and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27-24 in a thrilling NFL match early this morning. The Chiefs, with 10 wins and 1 loss, have now won 6 straight games as they continue to track the front-running undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers for the top seed in the AFC playoffs. The Bucs, with 7 wins and 5 losses, have now dropped to third to see them precariously hanging onto a wild card berth in the NFC. We wrap it up in Bahrain, where Romain Grosjean is being treated for burns to his hands after miraculously walking away from a huge first lap crash at the Bahrain Grand Prix that saw his Haas car split into 2 and burst into flames. Grosjean incredibly emerged from his cockpit before being rescued by nearby marshals and medical officials, while flames engulfed the front half of his car. Speaking for the first time from his hospital bed in a video posted on Sunday night, the French driver said he was, quote, okay, sort of okay. Don't miss the full Formula One report on tomorrow's show, where we will delve deeper into Romain Grosjean's miracle escape.
The Castle Premier Soccer League, La Liga, Serie A, the English Premier League, the Bundesliga. It all comes together with the Castle on the Castle Lager World Football Report.
The biggest game in world football this past weekend was on the continent of Africa, in the land of the pharaohs, the city, Cairo, a city divided. It was a derby pitting Ahly and Zamalek in the first ever one-legged African Champions League final, and it needed a late, sensational Mohamed Afsha Magdi goal in the 88th minute to settle what was a hugely entertaining match. The home side, Al Ahly, had gone ahead early through Amir El Soleh for Shikabala to equalize for Zamalek just before halftime with an equally sensational strike, a world-class effort of his own. Barry, this final, which was dubbed the final of the century, lived up to its billing. It lived up to expectations. Usually, these big games between rivals are very cold, calculated, slow affairs. But this one, they went hell for leather and they entertained supremely.
They absolutely did, because in truth, the goals that we saw could fit quite easily anywhere on the planet. It was a high quality game. Look at and I was especially surprised by how open it was. It didn't look like a final. It just looked like another derby where it was just 3 points at risk, and they were both going at each other hell for leather. And that's the way a final should be. In truth, these cagey affairs that you described earlier are never entertaining at all, and you don't see the class and quality of players on the field. We certainly saw that on Friday night.
And of course, that win giving Al Ahly a record-extending 9th African Champions League crown. And the win meaning that their boss, South African Pitso Mosimane, becomes just the 3rd coach to win the title with 2 different clubs. Remember, he won it with Mamelodi Sundowns, whom he left to join the Egyptian champions. And now he has been crowned African champion with the Egyptians. And he'll be heading, Barry, to the Club World Cup, which is something that he had talked about even whilst he was still with Mamelodi Sundowns. He had said that was a dream of his, to go and compete against the best minds in world football, against the best clubs in world football.
Yeah, he talked about it being the next frontiers and he wanted to make a dent at the Club World Cup. Now he's going there with an Al Ahly side that can certainly make a dent. I was a little surprised though, possibly because of the quality, and I'll wait to hear your thoughts on it. Perhaps because of the quality of Zamalek. I was surprised at the amount of the ball that Zamalek had in periods during that game, where in truth, had they used it a little more efficiently, they could have actually got a positive result out of this. But after those periods, Al Ahly seized the initiative and controlled that match, and I was a little surprised that Pitso Mosimane allowed that to take place.
I think, Barry, it was only a sign of what we talked about on Friday, that these were two teams that were equally matched, that were going head to head, two teams full of quality, both capable of dominating possession. And like you said, Zamalek dominated possession in periods during that final and looked like they could have actually hurt Al Ahly if they'd just been a bit more efficient with the ball. And so for me, not hugely surprising, but for me, the important thing would be that Pitso Mosimane was able to get the ship back on course. Yeah. And at the end of 90 minutes, he was able to walk away victor. Well, talking about winning, his former club in the DStv Premiership, Mamelodi Sundowns, victors this past weekend over Stellenbosch Football Club, 3-0. That combination between Peter Shalulile and Kermit Erasmus, Barry, that combination looks like it's working. It could be a combination together, of course, with Zwane, who is the reigning DStv Premiership Footballer of the Year. It could be a combination that could take Sundowns deep in many a competition at home and on the continent.
Most certainly, that combination is working, and also the combination on the bench. We're no longer talking about the coaching by committee anymore because it seems to have gotten a place whereby it's leveled out. It's working. So they've shut us up, the naysayers, and in truth, on the field and on the bench, they are doing the job and doing the business. So Mamelodi Sundowns still nailed on as probably one of the favourites, along with Orlando Pirates, to claim the DStv Premiership, or the inaugural DStv Premiership.
Well, Pirates were held to a 1-0 draw by Baroka. They had to come from behind late in that game to force a share of the spoils. Other results of interest, Caetano Tembo SuperSport United getting back to winning ways with a 2-1 win over Maritzburg United on the road. Bradley Grobler with a brace in that game to give SuperSport Amatsatansa all 3 points.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Let's give you the weekend results out of England before we talk about the very many talking points that came out of this match day in England. Crystal Palace beaten at home 2-0 by Newcastle on Friday night, which upset me because I wasn't able to sort out my fantasy team. I forgot there was football on Friday night. But nonetheless, that's another matter for another day. Manchester City 5-0 over Burnley, looking like the business once again. Leeds United finally getting a win they so richly deserve, 1-0 over a very good Everton side. And then West Bromwich Albion 1-0 over Sheffield United. Arsenal upended by Wolves 2-1. Now on to the talking points. Now Roy Keane, he's talked about Tottenham and questioned their title credentials, despite Jose Mourinho's side reclaiming top spot in the Premier League with a Labour goalless draw at Chelsea. Spurs simply needed to avoid defeat at Stamford Bridge to return to the summit, and they just about got the job done, with Chelsea guilty of squandering a host of second-half chances in a cagey affair, a very tactical affair. Let's hear from Roy Keane before we hear from Mike Maduda.
They've had some really good results. I don't know if their form has been that brilliant. Remember, they still had the odd blip here and there, slipping up home to Newcastle, West Ham. So there was no surprises what we saw with Tottenham today. I think Tottenham do depend a lot on Harry Kane, and he was quiet today. Jose's on about there, the players were fairly disappointed in the dressing room. They should be delighted. This is the same team that finished 6th last year and celebrated on the pitch like they'd won the league, and Jose was skipping down the tunnel. So I think he's playing games with that. Listen, he'll be delighted, particularly with Chelsea with a better team the second half. They had a better the chances. He'll be delighted with that point. He's just playing games. But he's done it before. He's done it. His mindset is, again, his CV is fantastic. But I don't think this group of players he's got at Spurs is good enough to win the title. They've got the X Factor, Marino and Kane, but I don't think that's enough. They were hanging on at the end there, and he's more than capable. I think Spurs are on for a very good season, but a very good season is a big difference than talking about trying to win the league title. I don't think so.
Was Listen, it's okay to question title credentials at this stage, but you play the competition, you don't play the game. And one of the best to do that is Jose Mourinho. Do you think he played the competition last night?
They had an opportunity, Barry, to make a statement. I think the Chelsea game is a game that Spurs needed to win, to put a marker down and to announce to the rest of the competition that, you know what, we are in it to win it and we can come to win on your patch. You talk about playing the competition, and yes, Jose Mourinho classically has always done that. But he's always done that when he's had a lead to protect. You know, if you've got a 7, 8, 9 point lead at the top of the standings, it's easy for you to say, okay, we are up against one of our title rivals or one of the chasers. Let's make sure that we don't lose, because at the end of the day, it will be as you were. But in this case, Barry, they had an opportunity to pull 2 points clear, especially after Liverpool had dropped points versus Brighton earlier. So this was a wonderful opportunity. And the reason why I say that, Barry, is because when you take a look at the log standings, Liverpool, who are decimated by injury, who are not playing their best football, have the same amount of points as Tottenham Hotspur that everyone is talking up as potential champions, yet they've all got 21 points. They are all sitting at the top of the standings, just separated by goal difference. Chelsea, again, who are being talked about as potential league champions, are behind Liverpool, 2 points adrift of Liverpool in third place. So it shows me that, you know what, if the likes of Liverpool and Man City can get their act together, and we saw Man City perform this past weekend, they look like they may have turned a corner. Those two teams, for me, if they have all their players, if they are playing their best football, will remain the two teams to beat.
So the two teams to beat being Liverpool and Manchester City. The other team in Manchester is, of course, United. Now, they fought back from 2 goals down at half-time to secure a dramatic 3-2 comeback victory as Edinson Cavani's double rescued Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side at Southampton. A game of two halves, you'd say. Manchester United showing that they've still got a bit of fight in that old dog, and Edinson Cavani with impact off the bench.
Yeah, impact off the bench, Barry. He should never have been on the bench. There's no way that you choose a greenhorn like Mason Greenwood ahead of an experienced campaigner like Edinson Cavani, who's done it at international level, who's done it in Serie A, who's done it in the Champions League, who's done it in France with PSG, one of the world's deadliest strikers. And we question the reason why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have gone on and bought him if he was going to keep him on the bench. He brought him in the second half, and he showed what he can do. And for me, it's a no-brainer that he should be leading the line for Manchester United. All you need to do is put a few creative bodies behind him, create the chances, and Edinson Cavani will stick them away.
Yeah, and that win taking Manchester United now in 8th position. They are 7 points adrift of the top with a game in hand. So that a very important victory for them. Now it might look like we're rushing.
Did you say 7 points, Barry? You betrayed your PE.
Did I?
Upbringing.
No,
yes,
5 points.
It's 5 points.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for that.
And they have a game in hand.
Game in hand.
I point to the fact that people are saying Spurs have had a great start, can win the title. Chelsea have had a great start, can win the title. United have got a game in hand. If they win that game in hand, United pool level with Chelsea are 19 points.
Yeah.
So right now, that's why Roy Keane has got every right to doubt the title credentials of some of these teams that the media is talking up, because they haven't really done anything great to merit that tag.
It's going to be a very interesting title run for sure. Remember, we've got the Christmas and New Year's period, which is exceptionally busy coming up. We seem to be rushing because we want to get to this talking point. Pascal Gross's controversial injury time penalty awarded after a VAR intervention, giving Brighton a 1-1 draw against champions Liverpool. Now, VAR, more so than this game, VAR as a whole, Michael, are they re-refereeing games, which they are being accused of in some quarters?
Absolutely, they are, Barry. And I think if you take a look at the way that the English are now implementing VAR, they seem to have basically rewritten the rule around a clear and obvious. because if you take a look at what happened in that Liverpool game versus Brighton, that penalty that was given to the former Arsenal attacker, what's his name, that boy again? I keep forgetting him.
Welbeck, Danny Welbeck.
Yes, Danny Welbeck, yes. He does put in some forgettable performances, so hardly surprising I'd forget his name. But here's the thing. Was that a clear and obvious error? I don't think it was.
I don't think so.
It looks like they're no longer going by that clear and obvious now. They're going to the screen, or VAR is taking a look at what has happened. And if there's anything like contact, it's going to be given. So I think they should just come out and make an announcement on that and say, okay, guys, there is no longer any gray area. It's now black and white. Okay? If a foul is committed, doesn't matter if it's trivial, doesn't matter if it's small, doesn't matter if it doesn't warrant or fit into the clear and obvious category, we're just going to give it.
Yeah, needs to be cleaned up, and hopefully there is some cleaning up that's happening back of a stage. A quick look at the Z Fantasy League. On top at the moment is Chele Chele, managed by Clive Runganga with 686 points. In second position, G's 11, managed by Geraint Jones on 674. And in third position, Larry FC, which is managed by Hilary Giwa, there on 674 points. Just remains therefore, who was a standout performer for you, Michael, in England?
Yeah, Barry, it was a toss-up between Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United, not Bruno Fernandes, I mean Edinson Cavani of Manchester United, that comeback win over Southampton. A couple of goals and an assist for him. He certainly put his hand up, but it's difficult, Barry, to overlook the hat-trick performance of Riyad Mahrez for Manchester City versus Burnley. Not only did he score the goals, but his personal performance was absolutely outstanding. He was at his best. And I think for me, he gets my star of the week in the Premier League.
Star of the week, Riyad Mahrez, and we all know what he did in the National Sports Stadium, which the less said about that, the better. Tonight's matches, Leicester City takes on Fulham, West Ham United versus Aston Villa.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
Let's go to Spain, and here are your La Liga weekend results. Real Valladolid and Levante could not be separated. It ended 1-0. Same result between Elche and Cadiz. Huesca beaten at home by Sevilla 1-0. Another 1-0 draw between Getafe and the Athletic Club of Bilbao. Celta Vigo with an impressive 3-1 win versus Granada. And there was yet another 1-0 draw, this time between Real Sociedad, the log leaders, and Villarreal. But there was a shock on the cards elsewhere. Zinedine Zidane is concerned by Real Madrid's lack of consistency after they suffered a shock 2-1 defeat at home to Deportivo Alaves. Barry, I know a lot of people have been talking about the problems at Barcelona, but Real Madrid are not in good health.
Yeah, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, as they say, because you look at it. And in truth, if we want to give a two-word answer, you got to say Sergio Ramos, because like you continue to point out, Real Madrid are a different side when Sergio Ramos is out of that team.
But surely, Barry, that's a systemic failure on Real Madrid's part, because how can they be dependent on a 34-year-old defender?
It's his performances, yes, but I think even as high as 60% of his contribution is just in leadership alone. He's an organizer, he's a talker, he's a motivator, he's an inspirer. So his contribution is a lot more than just his playing. In the stands, he can't do the same.
Okay, the other side in Madrid is Atletico, and they were rewarded for their determination when they snatched a 1-0 win at Valencia thanks to a late own goal. They remain undefeated, Diego Simeone's men. Barcelona, they bounce back from the misery of the last 3 or so weeks. Lionel Messi paying tribute to Diego Armando Maradona with a goal celebration that came as a beautiful surprise to his Barcelona teammates. Messi scored his side's 4th goal in the 4-0 win over Osasuna and afterwards removed his Barcelona shirt to reveal a Newell's Old Boys jersey emblazoned with Maradona's famous number 10. Newell's Old Boys, of course, one of Maradona's former clubs in Argentina. Tonight's action, Real Betis versus Eibar. And Barry, who was your standout performer in Spain?
I'm going to go with Antoine Griezmann. I really believe that this was probably his best performance in a Barcelona shirt. I think he's enjoying his new role, not necessarily playing out and out in the front three, being able to play in the pockets, and he certainly did play well in that 4-0 win.
And he scored an absolutely fantastic goal. I mean, as good a goal as you're ever going to see, and possibly one of the contenders of goal of the season.
Let's go to Italy. Sassuolo beaten 3-0 by Inter Milan at home. Benevento 1-1 draw with Juventus. Hellas Verona, good road win, 2-0 over Atalanta. And then Udinese winning 3-1 at Lazio. Bologna 1-0 over Crotone. And Cagliari playing out a 2-2 draw with Spezia. Napoli head coach Gennaro Gattuso believes Inter are favourites to win Serie A this season ahead of current leaders Milan and defending champions Juventus. Gattuso considers Antonio Conte's Inter title favourites following Napoli's 4-0 win last night. Would you agree with him, Mikey?
Yeah, well, I think he's deflecting. He doesn't want to talk about Napoli. They won 4-0 versus Roma. Good win. He should be talking his team up as possibly tighter contenders. But obviously, he's going to deflect, heap more pressure on Antonio Conte at Inter Milan.
Meanwhile, AC Milan shrugged off their absence of injured stars Zlatan Ibrahimovic to consolidate their lead in Serie A with a 2-0 win over Fiorentina. Your weekend star, Michael? Who do you reckon?
I'm going with Lorenzo Insigne of Napoli. Scored a fantastic free kick, and then he also had an assist. A good performance on a night where Napoli whipped out a 4th strip dedicated to Diego Maradona. They looked like Argentina yesterday, wearing the black shorts and a striped blue and white number. And so good performance from Lorenzo Insigne. Match-winning performance for him in a 4-0 victory over Roma. Let's wrap it up with your results out of Germany. Union Berlin and Eintracht Frankfurt in a 6-goal thriller that ended 3 goals apiece. Augsburg and Freiburg in a 1-1 draw. RB Leipzig beating Arminia Bielefeld 2-1. Borussia Mönchengladbach with a thumping 4-1 win over Schalke 04. Bayer Leverkusen and Hertha Berlin goalless draw. Mainz and Hoffenheim 1-1 draw. Borussia Dortmund defeated at home by struggling Cologne 2-1 on Saturday, and Bayern Munich remaining top of the Bundesliga after they beat Stuttgart 3-1 at the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Bayern Munich having to come from behind after falling behind in that particular game. Barry, who was your standout performer in Germany?
It was in that 6-goal thriller, mate. Max Kruse, the number 10 from Union Berlin. Oh my God. A fantastic brace. The first one, of course, a penalty. You got to bury those. And then the second one, after Frankfurt had actually taken a 3-2 lead coming from behind, he managed to secure the draw with an absolute worldie. He's going to be my star of the week, Max Kruse from Union Berlin. We got to go. We'll catch you tomorrow, 6:05. The full team will be here. Don't miss it. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.